Howard Gardner's 9 multiple intelligences are a critical topic in today's education system. They include visual, spatial, linguistic, verbal, interpersonal, intrapersonal, logical, mathematical, musical, bodily kinesthetic, naturalistic, and existential. The specific intelligence that I want to talk about, though, is interpersonal, mainly because it can help a lot with students learning from when they're very young, all through adolescence, and even in adulthood. We use interpersonal connections in adulthood as well. People with strong interpersonal intelligence are more skilled in talking and communicating with people rather than the other 8 intelligences. They can understand emotions, intentions, and desires of others easier than others can. An example would be students being in groups, like discussing things. Like that's how some students learn better, like through talking and understanding through discussion rather than reading or writing or watching a video. They like discussing things and talking about things. In my K through 12 education experience, I think the most frequently used intelligence as in elementary grades were definitely bodily kinesthetic, but growing up and going through middle school and then high school, it turned more into interpersonal. At a young age, students would prefer being in groups, doing physical activities, and having fidgets while learning. Because small children, they tend to bounce around all the time. They want to be physical. They want to do physical activities, and they want to be all over the place. They have more energy than the older students do. So they would more like to do puzzles and little tanagrams for math class and all of this stuff. But as you get older, you're more like, you can more listen, you can read more, you can do things more independently. But growing up, about half and half, like the student body I experienced was about half bodily kinesthetic and then half interpersonal. Like a lot of people did like thrived in a physical environment, but a lot of people also thrived in speaking and going through discussion, and whether it be with peers or the teacher. Like when I was a young student in elementary school, I used to enjoy doing puzzles and building with blocks and doing physical activities, but that changed as I grew up. It started turning into more intrapersonal, which I wanted to do things by myself. I didn't like being in groups, and this is more so in middle school. And then eventually growing up, going into high school, I was more interpersonal, and I thrived through having conversations about my education and having conversations about what we were learning about, and it really helped me understand the topics better. I think that interpersonal intelligence should hold a higher standard than the rest in education, because when a student learns, they need to be able to know how to communicate with others. It's a core social skill, and it's important to become comfortable with that, especially from their development in elementary grades and then middle school and high school through adolescence. So then they have that skill as an adult, because that's something that you need in adult life. In my future teaching space, the learning environment would look like a combination of settings that promote all 9 of Gardner's multiple intelligences. There would be groups of students together, stations for different tasks, a group with tactile objects that incorporate with the lesson, a group with worksheets who like working more independently, and others like if students like working by themselves, then have little have desk dividers, and it just depends on their personal preference. Gardner's multiple intelligences are just another part of life that makes everybody unique in their own way. There is no correct way to learn. There is no right way to go about things. Everybody learns in their different way. If one student is bodily kinesthetic and they need to learn more physically, and rather than sitting down and working on something by themselves, like intrapersonally, it's not going to work for them. Everybody learns in their own way, and that's okay. And people need to understand that going into the education field. Not everything is so black and white. There's no right way of learning. There's infinite different ways to learn things. These intelligences are very important for the K through 12 system because they define different learning capabilities and preferences. Some students are especially skilled in one area while another student might, in the same grade, might have a completely different strength. Recognizing that there is more than one way to learn is really important in establishing what works for each student and what might work even better in the classroom.